Tanakwe, Talofa, and good morning to you people of the internet. Welcome to the show. My name's Liam, and on behalf of all the people here at the Pixel People of Aotearoa, let me welcome you to our brand new cooperative channel. Well, on my part of the show, I'm going to be talking about games both classic and modern. And whilst every single one of us here is going to go retro in some way or another, usually you can find me focusing on games from my favourite console, the Nintendo 64. Since this is my very first video on this channel, I thought I'd give you a treat. So I thought for the first channel, don't focus on something bad, focus on something good. So I thought I'd treat you all to a retrospective of one of my favourite Nintendo 64 titles, Banjo Kazooie. At first glance, it looks like a really colourful, cutesy kids game. But beneath the surface lies a sea of imagination and innovation. This game has been classed by many as one of the best action platforms of all time, and I have to agree. Even as a child of 5, I loved it. But how did this N64 classic garner its name? Well, it all started in 1995 with a little game developer called Rareware, also known at the time for one of their great gaming series, Donkey Kong Country, and would later go on to develop Perfect Dark, GoldenEye, and Conker's Bad Fur Day. The game was originally intended to be a title for the Super Nintendo. However, with the advent of the N64 in 1996, Rare transferred their work over to the N64. However, there were some drastic changes. It was no longer an RPG, it became an action-adventure platformer. And of course, they replaced their older protagonist, Edison, with a bear called Banjo. Later on in development, they brought in Banjo's Breagle buddy Kazooie. Originally, Kazooie was just intended as a pair of legs that were going to come out of Banjo's trademark blue backpack. However, soon they developed her into the red and gold feisty bird. Banjo Kazooie was then released for the N64 in 1998, and received critical acclaim from fans and critics alike. But what was this game about? What made it so legendary? Join with me as we dive into the piece of video gaming treasure that is Banjo Kazooie. Banjo and Kazooie live peaceful lives in their small home in Spiral Mountain with Banjo's sister Tootie. However, as Tootie comes to see Banjo to go on an adventure, Tootie is taken by the evil green-skinned witch Gruntilda, who wants to steal her beauty and take it for herself. Hearing the commotion, Banjo and Kazooie, with the help of Bottles the Mole, set off into the witch's lair to rescue Tootie. As they venture through numerous worlds, from beaches to swamps and even a haunted mansion, they encounter evil creatures and the shaman Mumbo Jumbo, as they travel through the crazed labyrinth that's Gruntilda's lair. Banjo and Kazooie have to constantly work as a team in order to achieve their goals, often taking on different roles. Kazooie can fly, shoot eggs, drill rocks, pick, smash, jump, and my personal protect Banjo with her wings, which emit a golden glow, and plays this awesome song as you run along. I love this move so much for two reasons. One, the music is just so plain awesome. I mean, listen to it. I love seeing the bad guys running for their lives because being touched by this is a one-hit KO. Not to say Banjo doesn't do anything, he's pretty much Kazooie's carrier. He can run, jump, roll, use his claws, and a few other things, but Kazooie seems to wear the pants in this duo. The game also features so much to collect. This game is a collectathon, but you hardly notice because of the awesome level design. Among the things you can find are musical notes which are needed to advance further into the lair, jiggies, golden jigsaw pieces you need to open up new worlds, there are 10 in each world, including the lair itself, and they have the coolest animations as you collect them. You also have Mumbo tokens, which you take to Mumbo in the world to transform into something you need to find a jiggy. It could turn you into anything from a termite, to a crocodile, or even a pumpkin. Then finally, you have Jinjos. There are 5 in each world of different colours. Find all of them in a world to obtain a jiggy. Those are just the essentials of what you need to find, but you can also find extra honeycombs for increasing your health bar and extra lives. The levels are amazing works of art in themselves, completely original, from Mumbo's Mountain to Click Clock Wood. No level is alike in design or the unique story in each. you another story and some of the amazing gameplay behind it, but what happened after it was released? Well, 2 years later, Rare released a sequel for the game called Banjo Tooie. We loved the sequel so much that we actually named our dog after it. Banjo Tooie also brought with it one of the greatest mysteries in video gaming. Banjo Tooie was originally going to include a mode called Stop and Swap. This would have allowed for gamers to switch the Banjo Tooie cartridge with the Banjo Kazooie cartridge, so they could unlock special abilities in both games. However, this didn't come to fruition due to some new software in the future model of the Nintendo 64, meaning that the 10-second gap between switching consoles was reduced to 1 second. However, it hasn't stopped gamers from trying to deduce the mystery. However, everything is still a mystery, even though a lot of information was found in the game's coding. However, in 2001, disaster struck. In 2001, Microsoft purchased Rareware for millions upon millions of dollars, making it a first-party developer. Good grief, this was the start of their downfall. The games that Rare managed to come out with after Microsoft were not as good as the ones they were able to come out with on the N64. There was Grabbed by the Ghoulies, which was okay, but of course it wasn't. It was nowhere near Banjo Kazooie or Conker's Bad Fur Day. They also remade Conker's Bad Fur Day, which looks pretty good, but unfortunately a lot of the sexual references and the cursing was heavily censored, which removed some of the comedic value of the game. Then, in around 2006, we finally got a glimmer of hope. Remakes were done of Banjo Kazooie and Banjo Tooie, and they got Stop and Swap to work. So yeah, that was pretty cool. However, there was also a trailer for a third Banjo game. Sadly, this would turn out to be the piece of dog manure called Banjo Kazooie Nuts and Bolts. And it made me sick to my stomach. But the main question is, does Banjo Kazooie still hold up today? Well, graphically, no. The graphics unfortunately haven't aged well with gaming culture. However, there's a slightly more improved version of the graphics if you're going for the remakes on the Xbox 360. However, if you're asking me if the game still holds up today in terms of gameplay, yes. It's an amazing game, and I recommend it to anybody out there with an N64 or an Xbox 360. I give this game a 9.5 out of 10. And if you have a Nintendo 64 emulator, Xbox Live Arcade, or if you're like me and still have your Nintendo 64, Banjo Kazooie is definitely a game you won't regret playing. I'll see you guys next time, but until then, goodbye, haere rā.